Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel, and today's video is going to be one of those things that is either going to be relatively irrelevant or potentially very helpful for you to prepare for variant 7. Now yesterday during KT time I got asked the question, what are the best hero evade counters from each class? And it's a very comprehensive question that I didn't want to rush the answer to, and I didn't quite have the time to get into the detail. However, I do think, since more and more people have been asking me that it is worth discussing. Now, what do we know? We know that Variant 7 is Arachnid action, and based on the first time the quest came out, 5 out of 6 bosses are going to be spider heroes, which all have access to evade. Also, it wouldn't be out of extraordinary if there would be many more evade champions in this variant specifically, and that could potentially also be relative theme of this variant. But at the very least, bare minimum, we know that 5 bosses will be spider heroes, whom all have access to evade. We also know that variant 7 uh, is going to be basically limited to hero champions. Now, you will be able to bring in villains, which is extremely important, but based on description, you will not really want to do so, because for each hero you will have increased ability accuracy, which is obviously a great thing, so you would be missing out. Additionally, we do know that each chapter will have class-based champion requirements, with paths designed both to challenge and benefit champions required to enter. So far, we are looking at hero champions, class-specific restrictions, and we know for a fact that there will be evade champions in there. And that's why the question gets asked more and more often to me. What are the best evade counters of each class? Well, let's go over it. We can obviously jump to Auntmay, which is an awesome resource. So first things first, we're gonna filter out hero champions exclusively. 119 thus far in the game, of whom one, I believe, or 2 are actually not really available, but might be by the time Variant 7 lands. And now let's go over each and every single individual class. Now, 4 of the classes, at the very least 3 of the classes, will be perfectly fine. Now, science heroes, as we can see, there aren't too many of them, but they'll be perfectly fine. Because obviously, science class is Quake, the ultimate champion, and likely gonna be destroying whatever she is allowed to destroy. And then we also have 3 additional extremely powerful slow champions in form of Red Guardian, very easily accessible slow and easily to maintain as well, She-Hulk and Spider-Gwen. Now, all 4 of these champions are top class champions, all very viable, all very relevant, and I think that alone kind of like puts science class in a decent standing when it comes in the next variant, and you shouldn't be too worried if you have like 2 of these 4 champions, ideally. And again, we do not know the nodes that will be on the opponents, and perhaps, for instance, Captain America Infinity War. As long as you can parry, you can just parry heavy and you're going to be fine. So there are other options definitely to deal with these away champions. But these 4 are the ones that we definitely want to focus on. So we have Quake, Red Guardian, She-Hulk, and Spider-Gwen. If you have a couple of these, you're probably going to be fine. Move on to skill class now. And skill class, I can't even go over all the possible evade counters, because a vast majority of skill heroes in this game do have some sort of ability to lesser or counter evade. Aegon can do it if you can manage to ramp him up. Agent Venom passively reduces the evade chance by half, plus if he's going to have increased ability accuracy, it's probably even further than that. Both Black Widows do it. So I could go over pretty much and list every champion, which I want. So which are the champions that you should focus on the most? Nick Fury is an amazing option for countering evades and dishing out insane amounts of damage. And after Nick Fury, I would go with Falcon and Elsa Bloodstone. Both of them are very viable champions, and especially Elsa, given getting bonuses against science champions, will be actually extremely beneficial too. And all of these champions can counter evade very effectively and very quickly. Then obviously we do have Daredevil Hell's Kitchen, we do have Stealth Suit Spider-Man, we do have Ronin, we do have Night Thrasher, who is an insane evade counter, one of the best ones as well. So skill class, you're probably not gonna have much issue. I'm personally gonna probably automatically bring in Nick Fury, Night Rusher, and perhaps Elsa, and that should be more than enough. Obviously, we do not know for a fact whether what the nodes will be and whether we do need to actively focus on it. But this, again, as I said at start, is one of those videos where it's better to be ready than not, and perhaps it can be helpful for you to prepare. Right. Now, Mutant class. Now, in Mutant class, we have Archangel, which is one of the MVPs when it comes to anything that bleeds and can be poisoned, and no spider heroes are bleed immune or poison immune. So Archangel should be able to put in a crazy amount of work there, and that is great. That's going to be my go-to option. Another amazing await counter Mutant class has right now is Professor X. Get about 25 channeling charges, which is a very, very easy thing to do, and you're sorted, and that is something you do not have to worry about. Other than Professor X, we do have Iceman, good old trusted Iceman, never been quite my favorite champion, but he is relatively capable on countering await as well. In addition to that, we have Emma Frost. Her attacks cannot be evaded while she's in telepath form. Her special attacks cannot be evaded either. And last couple of nuggets, you can use Domino. Domino also has ability accuracy reduction, and she also can stop opponents evading whilst they are unlucky. And if you can parry the opponent, again, then you're going to have more options than that, but Colossus heavy attack can't be evaded if you're consuming the stun upon launching your heavy attack. So those would be the main champions to focus on. Ultimately, I would say if you have Professor X, Archangel, or Emma Frost and Iceman, you're probably fine. Those would be the top 4 options there. However, as soon as we move to tech class, we immediately face a problem, because there are only 15 tech hero champions. Somehow, for some reason, villains outrank heroes in tech class. Means that tech class technically is the meanest class in the game. And almost none of these heroes actually do anything to evade. There are only 2 champions that can interact with evade abilities, I believe, and neither of those 2 do it extremely well. So we have Iron Man Infinity War, whose repulsor hits cannot be evaded, but problem is that you're going to be mixing in your regular attacks in between your repulsor hits. So you can lesser the opponent's evading, you can't quite shut it off. So that will be perhaps helpful if you happen to have Iron Man Infinity War ranked up, but it will be by no means ideal. And then another option is Stark Enhanced Spider-Man. Now, Stark Enhanced Spider-Man, I'm sure actually many people either have forgotten or do not quite know about it, has a very potent ability on his level 3. 100% chance to ensnare the opponent for 18 seconds. Ensnared champions will suffer 30% reduced ability accuracy and cannot trigger passive evade effects. But here's the problem, it's level 3. And getting to level 3 often is much harder than it sounds. But nonetheless, it is worth knowing that Stark Enhanced Spider-Man does have that ability there on his level 3. Other than that, tech class will likely, or tech gates will likely be some of the harder things in this variant. So hopefully you do not have too many counters that trigger evade when you are required to bring in tech heroes. But moving on to Cosmic class, and surprisingly, Cosmic class isn't all that great when it comes to countering evade either. Now, if you would use champions that are not necessarily heroes, you would be having much better time, because then you have Venom, who flat out counters all the spider heroes directly. Then you have also the Red Goblin, who does the same, and those would be pretty much 2 of your best options alongside Corvus with Proxima Midnight. However, none of the 3 champions that I mentioned are heroes. And when we are left with only hero champions, the one champion that you realistically will be able to perhaps rely on is going to be Vision Arcus. He inflicts Cold Snap, and if opponents are under effect of Cold Snap, they cannot evade. So I have a feeling that my 6-star rank 1 Vision Arcus will have to put in some work here. Now, there are 3 additional options, but neither of them are, let's say, stellar champions in their own right. We do have Heimdall, who has a very, very great and reliant access to True Strike, especially if he's awakened, because then you can pretty much start the fight with True Strike. But it's Heimdall. It kind of stinks a bit. Luckily, I do have a rank 2, though, so perhaps he's going to finally get a moment to shine. Then we have Odin, who is a very, very new champion, but he also has a fairly decent access to True Strike on his level 1. So that is an additional option. And then we have the hero of the day, Nova. Now, Nova, I do not think his access to True Strike is quite as realistic and straightforward as the rest of these champions. And I do not put too much eggs in that basket. So, unfortunately, for Cosmic class, we are pretty much left with Vision Arcus, Heimdall, and Odin. And that is quite a poor lineup there. So hopefully Cosmic class once again does not have to deal with too many evades champions. And Mystic class. Now Mystic class could be tricky, because a lot of spider heroes happen to be science champions, and slow from Mystic class cannot trigger against science champions. So if you are fighting, let's say, OG Spider-Man, and you have to bring in Mystic Champion, then unfortunately you don't have any evade counters here. But assuming you're fighting some other champions with evade abilities, or one of different class Spideys, like Stark Enhanced Spidey or Symbiote Spidey or something like that, then we do have a couple of options. We do have Sorcerer Supreme, who has very great access to slow debuff, and she can maintain it throughout the entire fight, and you wouldn't have to worry too much about fighting Spider-Man, especially considering that you can just block bait heavy attacks or whatever, and yeah, heal it all back up. So we have Sorcerer Supreme that's going to do fantastic against everybody except Science Wave Champion. And then we do have Dragon Man, who also has access to his slow. However, unfortunately, it's not quite as potent as Sorcerer Supreme, and it activates at end of the special attack. And obviously, if they evade the first hit of the special attack, it's not going to be great time there either. So Mystic class is also quite short-handed there. Not quite as bad as Tech class, I would say, but not too great overall. So we can clearly see that we have the three classes that in general will do great. We have Science, we have Skill, and we have Mutant. These classes, I doubt you're going to have too much trouble finding your counters with. But when it comes to Tech, Cosmic, and Mystic, there might be some very hard fights and counters. Hopefully Kabam throws us a helping hand and adds some extra nodes that give us some evade prevention or something like that, if there happen to be a ton of evade-based characters. Now, all that being said, I think I'm just about done. I don't want to keep you guys longer here than necessary. And again, potentially this video maybe will be useless, but maybe it is worth polishing off your evade counter knowledge under the information that we do know about variant 7. The fact that it is spider variant, and the bosses are going to be Cyclops plus 5 spider heroes. The second thing, we know that it's going to be hero based, hence we looked at only hero champions today here. And the last bit, obviously, what they added at the bottom of the variant description, that there will be class-based restrictions. So yeah, hopefully this video will turn out to be helpful, and hopefully this video has been helpful to you. But all that being said, I'm done, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about